All right. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Podcast interview. Every single week, we interview top real estate professionals, top entrepreneurs, and straight up top badasses out there dominating their space. And today, guys, we got another amazing special guest here on the podcast. Just to give some quick context, our guest today is a mega team leader in Springfield, Missouri, has been running and operating a team for numerous years now. In 2021 and 2022, their team closed about 350 units, continue to grow, continue to expand. So I'm really stoked and honored to have Kelly Revore here on the podcast. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Joshua. Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here. So I really appreciate it and looking forward to our time together.
Yeah, no, me as well. And I know you've created such an amazing business and you continue to grow and expand and evolve. And I definitely want to unpack all the things that you're doing now and shifting in this crazy market that we are in right now. But before we do that, I'm always really intrigued in our guest journeys of how this all began in the first place. So if we wind the clocks, what did you do before real estate and what ultimately led to you jumping into real estate?
Great question. So when I really did not want to get into real estate. My family's in real estate and I wanted nothing to do with it. I wanted to go as far away as possible. So I got a couple of degrees in business and accounting and went and was an office manager for a local data cabling company. I did that for 13 years. Decided that I just didn't want to do that anymore. I was a single mom at that point and quit my job and was completely unemployed. For about 6 months, was living off of government assistance. And my mother, who had been an agent since 2006, she decided that she needed an assistant. So I was hired as her TC until I figured out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life at 33 years old and a single mom. From there, she said, it would just be so much easier if you got your license because, as a TC, there are certain things you can and cannot do. And I said, I really don't want to do that either. But she kind of pushed me into it. And then I like to say she threw me to the sharks whenever I fully got licensed. It was, you're now officially a real estate agent. And that was in 2013, which truthfully was the best decision she ever made for me. She pushed me off the ledge, but not how I saw my life going. It never is, though.
Yeah. No, I love that. So just out of curiosity, what was the resistance that you had, the distaste or whatever that maybe you had about getting into what was it in your mind going on of why you didn't want to jump into this industry?
So my father has been building since the 80s and my brother has been working with him, and we grew up, we're 80s kids, right? So we were laying sod and raking yards and putting up insulation and sanding cabinets. So I really wanted far away from new construction homes. I didn't want anything to do with that. They had rentals and, tenants are not the cleanest people, and I'm kind of a germaphobe. So cleaning up after tenants was never something I wanted to do. When she became licensed to sell my father's homes, which was the only reason she became licensed, which is ironic considering where we are today, but she became a licensed agent to sell my father's homes in 2006. And then, of course, the market tanked in 2008. And she went from being a part-time agent to going, oh my gosh, Chris can't build any houses. If I want to be able to afford to continue to survive, I'm going to have to go out there and actually promote myself as a real estate agent. So she started promoting herself as a real estate agent. And boy, I saw family dinners where people would call her and she'd get up in the middle of a family dinner and answer the phone. A couple of clients were she took everything to heart. So many clients were just hard on her and mean to her. It was a stressful time period for everybody. So I'd see her crying sometimes. She would be at an open house on a Sunday and I was kicked up watching the Chiefs play in my pajamas still. And so, she's working at 24/7 and it was a lot of ups and downs. And I got to see a lot of that. And I had no desire to deal with any of it.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest hesitation.
Yep. 100%. Understand all that. Okay. So then, you start off as a TC, you get your license in 2013. At what point did you go from TC kind of admin to then jumping into the trenches as, full-fledged agent?
Immediately. So when
Okay.
I joined her, she sold 88 houses with no admin. She did it all on her own. By the way, she was still the secretary of my father in his new construction homes, and she was still the property manager, and they own about 50 rental units. So I don't even know how she had a life. And so whenever I became a licensed agent, it was, hey, go show these people a house real quick. Hey, go open up this door and take pictures for these people. I mean, there was no hesitation. She conned me for sure. And it started right away. In 2016, after her and I both had been running ragged and burning it at both ends, we decided to hire a real estate coach and start building a team.
Okay.
It was necessary because we were drowning. This
Okay.
life is all consuming. Great, but it's all consuming.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've learned through this experience, it's like the only way to continue to grow and scale with, at the same point, having some element of a life is eventually you got to add people. And whether that be going the team
Yeah.
route, the brokerage route, whichever path you want to go, eventually you got to add that leverage piece. And so so that was 2016. You guys
Mhm.
decided to start making that move. What was that maybe first hire? Like, what did those initial kind of phases of building up that team look like?
Awful.
Yeah.
For anybody that's wanting to build a team, it was awful. It was worth it, definitely worth it. But as an individual agent, going from being an individual agent to our first hire was actually an admin, a TC. And then we started adding buyer's agents, and we didn't know what we were doing. We were giving them leads, but we weren't having them follow up like we should have. We just expected a very small split back then, and there was no accountability whatsoever. So I mean, we failed, and I think that's very common for a lot of team leaders today. It's easy to just say, okay, here's a lead, go do your thing. And I missed out on so many opportunities to show up as a team leader for those agents. I had my real estate coach, and I listened to my real estate coach, and finally, after a while, was able to learn and be coachable and start doing things the right way. But when we first started, we did not do well at all. We had one TC and two buyer's agents that I don't even think either one of them are in the business anymore to this day.
Yeah. Yeah. We see that the team failure rate is so high, meaning that
Mhm.
they go to start a team, they retract back into production. So with that, experiencing all that resistance, I mean, what kept you? Because again, we experience that resistance. Most people just abandon it and say, "Hey, I this headache outweighed the headaches I had before. I don't want to keep with this." What
Yep.
kept you moving forward and committing to figuring this out?
I don't like to give up. I think it's easy. Giving up's definitely the easy way to do it. And there were a lot of you as a team leader that's just getting started, you are going to work so much harder than you ever thought you could work. And truthfully, I didn't think I could work any harder than I was already working. I mean, before I became a team leader, I worked 9 weeks without a single day off. And when you're a single mom and you have no help, um, it was very, very hard. I had a lot of times my kids were in the car with me. They were 3 and 4 at the time. And it was definitely challenging to do. So I was just used to the challenges. And as we were building a team, I said, all right, this doesn't work. Let's try this. Okay, this isn't working. Let's try this. It was never an option for me to not grow a team.
Yeah.
It's always been, yeah, I will outwork anybody. I mean, I just get up. There are times I got to wipe the dried up tears off of my face, but I will outwork anybody because I'm not going to give up. To me, there's no such thing as failure. You're either winning or you're learning. You're not failing. And I just had a lot of learning experiences. I still have learning experiences. I definitely had a lot of learning experiences while I was growing it. It was very hard. I would say we didn't start making a profit until our third year. And a lot of tears, a lot of blood, a lot of just pushing through it, working harder than I ever thought that I could work, but I knew it was going to be worth it on the other side. And, I found mentors also that pushed me, and I got to see what was on the other side. So I reached out, I found people that were more successful than me that I could reach out to and kind of unload the burdens that I was wearing for them to go, yeah, it's totally normal. And I think as team leaders, when you look on social media, for instance, everybody thinks it's super simple. Everybody thinks you go from being a solo agent to like the super successful, super mega team. And what you don't see is the middle, right? The worst parts of it all, because nobody shows that on social media. So you think if you only look at my 10-year experience and that's all that you see, and you don't see, the years of growing it, then yeah, you're thinking that you're doing it all wrong. And when you think that you're doing it all wrong, you're going to quit. But I was able to reach out to people that had built a team that had been highly successful. And I realized along the way that what I was experiencing were the same experiences that they had, and look where they were. And I think that makes a huge difference. It's not easy. It's not roses, but gosh, it's worth it for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So then, one thing I didn't mention in the intro is, in addition to being a top team leader, you're also a coach, and you help, other agents and team leaders all over the country growing, expanding their team. So, with that being said, with your experience of going through those pain points, figuring out what you did wrong, like knowing what you know now, and also being a coach, like what is that advice? Well, number one, maybe start with, because a lot of people are thinking, hey, is a team right for me or not? If somebody's at that inflection point of their career, and maybe they're individual agent popping, 15 or 20 million a year in volume, and they're like, hey, which way should I go here? Like, number one, how do they know if the team's like that path is right for them or not?
Great question. And I think there's a lot of variables there. I'm a natural born leader, so it was just very natural for me to want to build a team. I always like to do it bigger and better. I think very successful people are never satisfied with where they are. And it's not necessarily a money thing. It's like a catch thing, right? We just like to grow and grow and grow. And that's definitely my personality. I have seen some people that really just don't need to be leaders because they are very focused heavily on themselves, and they don't want to take the time to teach and train other agents. And if you are at the point where you have more leads coming in than you know what to do with, really, that's the time to start building a team, and you can start building it slow. But I'll tell you, and I heard this a lot. I hear this a lot as a real estate coach. People say, I just don't want to build a big team. It's really hard. I just don't want to build a big team. And I was there too. I just wanted a few agents and myself and Linda, my mom, and one TC. And we're just going to kind of continue to chug along. But what I noticed as the team leader is we are a huge gift to people. And this is really where my mindset changed from wanting to kind of stay small to wanting to go out there and help as many people as possible. In 2016, when I started building my team, I had an agent come into my office, and she was crying because she went from not hardly being able to afford her rent to finally being able to take her and her young daughter on a trip to Florida. And it was because of the training that we had given her, the leads that we had given her, and her dream of being a realtor. And we helped facilitate that. And it was at that moment where I said, oh my gosh, this is so much bigger than me. Because when I first started building a team, it was for very selfish reasons, extremely selfish reasons. And I struggled with it. Give me your part of your commission and I will provide leads to you, but I don't want you to take any of my time training. I don't want you to take any of my time asking questions. I felt it was a burden. I had a very, very smart real estate coach say, hey, your largest ROI is going to come from training and coaching your team. And I went, all right, I can do that, I guess. And as that started, it has progressed into something where even now people will say, how big do you want your team to be? And I don't have an answer for that, because I want it to be as big as possible, not because of what I gain from it, but because of the opportunities that I'm able to help other people to be successful. I think people want to get into real estate because it's been a dream that they've had forever. They've always wanted to be in real estate. They love showing houses, all these things that we hear constantly as I'm interviewing agents of why they want to be real estate agents. And I want to help facilitate that. I think real estate agents were dream makers, right? The American dream is to own a home. And as a team leader, I'm a dream maker because so many people want to be a successful real estate agent and to have time freedom and financial freedom and huge opportunities. And I'm very blessed that I've been able to help with that. I want to coach other people to do that. I want to coach other team leaders to do that. I want to coach my team to be successful. And really, that mindset shift is what helped me go from a struggling team leader to a successful team leader. So going back to your original question, when the right time is, it's when you're overwhelmed. It's when you have too many leads coming in. But I'm going to be honest, you're not going to be a successful team leader until it stops being about yourself, because at that point you have a responsibility to your team to show up for them every day.
Yep. Love it. Powerful stuff. And, you know, so many team leaders to what you said earlier, you know, and I was in the same boat where I'd say, I just want to be a small, high performing, high producing, you know, team. But you also discover there's a lot of vulnerabilities there. You know, I remember, you know, I was a team of 10 total. So 7 agents, myself, and then 2 admin, and we were doing about 500 units a year. But then, okay, 3 of my top agents team up, go branch off and start their own team. And I lose 30% of my revenue overnight. And I'm like, okay, maybe this small, you know, high produce, it creates so many vulnerabilities, you know, but I had to go through that pain to realize it of, okay, like maybe I have the wrong philosophy here, you know? Okay.
So I'm curious then, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
How did you get past that? What did you do? Did you decide at that point, like at that moment, I'm going to grow big?
Yeah, 100%. You know, getting exposed to that vulnerability and feeling that pain was because at that point I was still in production, but my mission was to get myself out of production as soon as possible so I could just, you know, be full-time recruiting, training, you know, and supporting my agents. And that obviously forced me to take a big step back. So then I just committed to, okay, like what do I need to do to ensure I'm never vulnerable again, where, you know, any agent could leave or 5 agents could leave tomorrow. And yeah, it's not, I'm going to be happy about it, but it's not going to crush my business or really hurt my business. Because the reality is people leave, you know, and I used to have a big problem with that. But then I realized, okay, if you're a great leader, you're going to create other great leaders. And, you know, if I'm doing my job, okay, there's a percentage of them that are going to want to go out there and be like, hey, I want to create something like you created, you know? You know, so then it was just, committing to that, and then just started to scale it, you know, just switch models completely.
Yeah. And it's a huge ripple effect. I mean, think about that mindset shift for you. Think about the number of lives that you have changed since then, because you've created other leaders that have gone on to create other leaders, create other badass real estate agents. And when you have an amazing real estate agent, not only have you changed their lives, but you've also changed the lives of their buyers and sellers, because you don't have a trash agent coming in there and selling them or selling a home to them. So, I mean, just think you said 5 people that left you, or was it 3 people? 5 people?
Three, but I had people. 7 total agents and then myself. But yeah, I mean, it was a big percentage of my company overnight.
Yeah, but they did you the best favor that they could have.
Yep.
And they also did everybody from there moving forward that was able to be affected by you. They are influenced by you. They did them a huge favor. So what a huge blessing. I know you didn't see it at the time, but reframing it, what a huge blessing. You know, you could thank them truthfully for leaving you, because man, that's just created something amazing for you and for the people that have been influenced and been able to be led by you.
Yep, 100%. So then what was it that clicked? What was the changes that you made through those kind of hard learning lessons of your first 3 years of running your team that eventually you got dialed in, that then allowed things to really turn around?
That was the training. I really focused on training the agents. So we started having daily huddles every morning on the phone. We started having constant, not only weekly meetings, but we started having small group meetings because the team at that point was growing enough. I also started prioritizing recruiting. But the team was growing enough that we could, what's the word? Trying to think of the word, but we could separate everybody into tiers. So the newer agents were tier 1, the middle agents were tier 2, and then agents that had been with me for a while or sold a certain number of houses were in tier 3. So we could break them up and to have small group masterminds. which really helped because then you get a lot of one-on-one. There's a point where you have so many agents on your team that you really lose the connection. And I wanted to keep that connection because I think when you start to lose that connection is when a lot of things can start to happen. You start to have toxicity in the team, a culture issue. People don't feel connected to you as the team leader anymore, or somebody, right? Whether that be your trainer, if you have a trainer, which we don't, but we wanted to keep that connection. I still wanted to know the husband's names or the wives' names or the kids' names and their birthdays and stuff. And I found that I was losing that. So we started breaking everybody up into small group masterminds based on production. And that really helped as well. It just kept the team engaged. We still have, even to this day, we still have in-person meetings because I think that is very valuable. I know a lot of teams have Zoom meetings. I was not that person. And maybe it's a Midwest thing, I don't know, but we really focused on making sure that we were together. If there's a trivia night that our board of realtors is having, any type of a bowling league that our board of realtors is having, we create a team and we go and do that. We have 4 client events a year, so that's really fun. It's another way for the team to get together. We have 4 agent retreats a year. So we just do a lot of things together to create a great culture. Linda is my mother, and since her and I started it, we've always had the family mentality with the team. And I want the families to get as involved as possible. So our office is pretty relaxed. If your kid is out of school and he or she needs to come to the office for the day, just bring him to the office for the day. I don't mind. It's kind of cool to hang out with the kids.
Yep. Love it. So then, earlier on, you mentioned that when you first started the team, excuse me, you were given leads, but there was no accountability, no kind of inspecting what you're expecting. Has that also changed where you're got a dedicated process where things are inspected what you expect and your agents are held to a certain standards?
Yes. And full transparency, we really relaxed on that over the last 2 years. It has come back around, but the last 2 years is like, oh my gosh, I was fairly out of production. Now I'm back into production. And we were just incredibly busy the last 2 years, as I think, majority of the people were. So we became pretty relaxed on that, but we're back to it. But yeah, the daily huddles, they have to give us their numbers every single day. We review them at least once a month, and then we review them again once a quarter. And then of course, once a year. But I listen to their phone calls on our CRM and make sure that, they're saying what they need to say. They're not messing up. We do a lot of role playing, especially for our tier 1s. When we do our small group masterminds, we do a lot of role playing, but we have constant meetings. So not only do we have our weekly meetings as a team, but our bi-weekly small group masterminds. So we're constantly reviewing and objection handling and role playing. And then I listen to them and talk to the agents if they need to be talked to. How could we have done this better?
Yep. Awesome. So then, okay. So when you're listening to the call recordings, you're inspecting what you expect. And then all of a sudden you identify, a growth learning moment of something they could be doing better. Are those then reserved for when you're doing the daily huddles or the mastermind? So then everybody else collectively can learn from those? Or are there times where you're like, hey, I just need to reach out one-on-one and get this resolved and fixed?
A lot of times it depends on the phone call. Majority of the times it's the small group masterminds, we go over it then. But I mean, if it's something that needs to be rectified immediately, yeah, I'll call the agent, which luckily I haven't had a lot of opportunities to do that because we're big on respect and positivity within our team. So I think that the one-on-ones would be reserved for big things if somebody were disrespectful or speaking out of turn or not correct on their answers. Luckily, that hasn't happened. Most of the time it's during our small group masterminds.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. So then, I'm curious during the daily huddles, like what length of time is it? What time of day are you doing it? Is it in the office? Is it virtual? Is it mandated? And again, what does the structure look like when you're doing those?
Great question. And there's a lot of different ways that a lot of different teams do it. So what our team does 8:30 a.m. every morning. And I say every morning, we don't do it on Mondays and we don't do it on Fridays. Mondays, because that's our team meeting day. So we're going to see each other in person at the office anyways. We don't do it on Fridays because when COVID hit, we were meeting all the time and we just stopped doing Fridays because nobody was really doing any reach outs. This was like March, March of 2020 in the height of COVID. So we got out of Fridays, and then it just kind of became a habit. But Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 8:30 in the morning. It's just a phone call. It is not on Zoom. It is not in person. It's just a phone call. It takes about 15, 20 minutes. We start off going over our numbers. Yesterday, we did, what are we going to do today that's going to be different than any other day? Today, we talked a little bit about the NAR issue that has taken over the news today. I don't know when your listeners are listening to this, but the NAR thing that just came out as of October 31st or November 1st. And so we talked a little bit about that, but for the most part, it's very positive. It's very short, 10 or 15 minutes. And then we hang up the phone, and the goal is to tell everybody, hey, your day has started now. It's almost 9 o'clock. Start hitting the phone, start setting up the appointment, start doing something. And you had one other question. What was the other? Oh, mandatory. So yes, I can't say it's super mandatory because I'm not going to shut your leads off if you don't attend it one day. But if you don't attend it one day because you made a mistake and you don't attend it a second day, then you're getting a phone call from me. I find that if you allow one person to continuously not show up, then another person's going to say, well, person A never shows up, so I don't have to. And then person C is going to go, person A and B never show up. So it's not mandatory in writing, but they just show up. They know they're going to get a call from me if they don't.
Yep. Perfect. And I definitely have some more, kind of team specific team leader questions, but first, I kind of want to hone in on what are the things that you and your agents are doing right now. And what is, like you mentioned just a moment ago, okay, during 2020, 2021, things were able to be pretty laxed. As a great Warren Buffett says, the tide goes out, you see who's skinny dipping. So a lot of us kind of got caught, in that moment, because things were just so good. There was so much FOMO, but now it's fundamentals matter again. So like, what are some of the things that you guys are doing right now in this current market to continue to grow when the rest of the industry, from transaction volume, everything else seems to be contracting?
Yes. And we're right there too. I mean, our industry volume is contracting as well. And we're actually at our mastermind next Wednesday. We're going to discuss ways to bring more value to our to our clients. But to our agents, we have completely revamped our CRM. We're in the process of completely revamping our CRM. Because so many changes have come up through our CRM. So we are completely revamping it. I've started reteaching it, almost like a re-onboarding process, truthfully. Hey, we got to get back to doing this, this, and this. We got to get back to creating tasks and creating follow-up appointments. So we are really honing in on that. Along with objection handling of just the state of the market and what is going on with interest rates being higher. Everybody's kind of panicking. So how are we getting past that? We're doing a lot more videos to educate our clients, just doing as much as we can, truthfully. It's really kind of saying going back to the basics. And I know that there's a lot of people that say go back to the basics, and there's so much talk on there going back to the basics. And then there's some coaches that are like, why did you ever get away from the basics? Reality is we did. And so it's almost as if we are having to retrain and re-onboard our team, especially the agents that have come on the team over the last 2 years. And we have 17 of them right now, 17 agents. And I would say 5 or 6 of them are fairly new. They've come over the last 2 years. So we're having to basically train them how to work with objection handling, listen to other role-playing opportunities that they can. And there's quite a few free ones out there too. Listening to role-playing opportunities and teaching them how to speak to somebody, how to follow up with somebody, the quote unquote right way to follow up with them. You got your initial double dial and your 10 days of pain, depending on who you listen to, but there's a lot of different opportunities out there. What I'm also noticing is that there's so much agent attrition that as I said earlier, we just don't quit. We don't fail. It's not an option. So you just get up and you keep going to work, because my mother's real estate business grew during the recession. When everybody else was going out of business, hers grew. And I continue to remind the agents, these are growth opportunities, huge growth opportunities. You might not get quote unquote paid today, but whenever the dust settles and the interest rates settle, if they ever do, but whenever all of this stuff kind of settles and the US is no longer afraid of being in a recession, or we start to come out of said recession, then you're going to grow exponentially. And that's when you're going to get paid. So we're doing the work today in order to get paid a couple of years from now.
Yep. Yep. Love it. So then, are you guys also like just from an overall strategy shift, okay, like getting back to more of the fundamentals, okay, being more, diligent about our CRMs and consistent follow-up. And as you mentioned, because I mean, to your point, I've been doing this since 05. And so at least in my 18 plus years of doing this, skill set matters today more than any other time that I've seen. So, especially with the lower transaction volume today, it's like, if you don't have that skill set to maximize, optimize conversions, to identify the true core problems, keep things moving forward, like you're going to get crushed in this marketplace. And, so in addition to that, I mean, are you adjusting any overall strategies, like meaning actual, lead gen methodologies that you're going after different opportunities than maybe you did the last couple of years?
So far, that answer is no. We're not cutting back on any of our lead gen. I know there's quite a few people out there that are cutting back on their expenses. We haven't done that yet. Now, not to say that we might not do that in January, maybe February, not to say never, but as of right now, we've not cut back on any of our lead gen. We are still showing up, and it's kind of business as usual. We have plenty of billboards. We actually increased our billboard advertising, because what my hope is and what the goal is that when these agents have attrition, that gives us the opportunity for more growth, because we're just not going to have as many competitors as we do now. So I want to increase our visibility within the market through all of our lead gen platforms, through our billboards, through things like this. I want to increase our visibility. So whenever the tides change, then of course we're going to be catapulted for massive growth. I always like to think about growth and the challenges that we experience, almost think about it like a bow and arrow, right? So when you have your bow and arrow, you got to pull it back in order for it to propel forward. So right now we are working on still growing, still maintaining, still having all of our lead gen opportunities, not cutting any of it back, because we are in growth mode, right? Which is the pulling back mode, just so that we can propel forward.
Yep. Love it. I think it's important for our audience to know too. I mean, your market is relatively small. I mean, I think I heard on one of your other podcasts, it's about 350,000 total people that your territory covers.
Metro. Yep. Springfield in the metro area. We're at about 350,000 people. In terms of real estate agents, last I heard, there were about 28 real estate agents in our board. So we don't have a lot of competition here, but at the same time, our average price point's about $250.
Yeah.
So I like to talk in terms of, I mean, we did about 348 to be exact transactions, and we sold $78 million. So people go crazy when they hear that. They're like, oh my gosh, I sold 15 houses and it got 78 million. Yep. So there's not a lot of competition. At the same time, that also means that I have to be very diligent about our expenses, right? So, you look at a lot of these lead gen companies or these CRMs, it's the same price across the board, no matter what state you're in. They don't have it based on what your average sale price is. So we run a very lean team. I have three staff members on my team, 17 agents, and then Linda and I. And we have been able to successfully run a profitable business when our average sales price is just at $250.
Yep. No, that's awesome. And so you said there's 28 total agents?
2,800.
2,800. Okay, perfect. So yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. And I wanted to bring that up because it's, you got teams like mine that are, I'm in a metro with 6 million people, so there's, the market share that you guys have been able to build up is in such a really short period of time since you've created this team has just been absolutely amazing. And, with that being said, bringing that into, because so much of your business comes from repeat referral business. And this is one of those areas where the vast majority of agents drop the ball. They collect the commission check, peace out. Nobody, the vast majority, about 90%, never do a repeat transaction with them. What are things that you do? Because a lot of people talk about, you got to deliver a great experience and stay in touch with them. But then they don't go deep in, okay, well, what actually works to be able to, get to the point where 50% of our business is repeat referral business?
Yeah. And that's a great question. And I do feel, team leaders spend so much money to generate leads, and the cheapest leads that you can get are the repeat past clients, referral business leads. So this is where people drop the ball, and this is how you can cut your expenses. Well, I say that. I mean, this is where you can run a little bit leaner if you do this the right way, because you're going to have so much repeat business or referral business that you're not having to go out there and chase. It's now being attracted to you. And I think that's where the huge difference is. So we are so old school here. I'm still mailing out monthly newsletters in the mail. We do monthly email newsletters, but the ones in the mail, surprisingly, still get us a ton of phone calls. Of course, we've got our billboards, which is great. We advertise birthdays and stuff on billboards, and people absolutely love that. We do house anniversary cards every year. So depending on, what month that you purchased your home, if it's in October, every single October, you are going to get a happy house anniversary card from us. We do 4 client appreciation events. Our next one is giving away pumpkin pies and Thanksgiving. So not only do we send out postcards, but we also phone calls, text messages, anything that we can to just get in touch with them. We have taken people to Cardinals games. We've taken people to, and that's baseball. So Springfield, Missouri is minor league for the St. Louis Cardinals. So we've taken people to Cardinals games. We've taken them to our local college has an ice hockey team. So we've taken them, we've rented out a huge section of the hockey team. We have the zoo. Gosh, the zoo is probably our most heavily attended one. We just rent out the zoo for half the day, and we give people tickets to the zoo plus pet feeding, the feeding food where they can go in there to the petting zoo and feed the animals. We've just done a lot of things like that. And when COVID hit and we had to stop having in-person meetings, we pivoted and we found a way around it. So for Valentine's Day, we went to Papa Murphy's, and you buy a $5 pizza and a $2 liter of Coke. And we had people drive up to our office. We went out to their cars, gave them these uncooked Papa Murphy's pizzas and these 2-liter of Coke. The whole thing cost us $8 or $10. And we were still able to touch our clients, not have to worry about COVID. And we were still able to say hi, and they love it. We absolutely love it. Whenever people come pick up the pies, it's probably one of my most favorite ones because they're showing me pictures of their houses for when they decorated. So that's the kind of stuff that we do. And that's the kind of stuff that is so important, that really sets you apart, because the number of clients that have said, oh my gosh, I've never had a real estate agent do this for anybody. And you can't do it once or twice. You have to be consistent about it. In January, we send out save the date cards for our client events, and we're at least doing 4. That's just the bare minimum. I mean, we've done more than that depending on the season. And at every single client event that we do, we also have a fundraiser. So for our pumpkin pies, we're raising funds for the local food pantry. When we go to the zoo, we raise school supplies for one of the underdeveloped schools, the areas. And then, of course, we turn around and do all of our social media advertising based on all of these donations. We have Ronald McDonald House here. And when we did our baseball game, we raised funds through a 50-50 raffle to be able to donate to them. So every single client event that we have has a charity wrapped around it. And we create all of these dates in December during our team retreat, because we have one day where we go over our goals and our core values and our missions and all that stuff. And at that day, we sit down and we plan out the following year's client events, the following year's charity events, and who we're going to donate to. So that way there's no way around it. Then when you send out the save the date, you have to do it now. You have no choice.
Yep. Love it. So then, with having as large of a team that you do, it's not possible, I'm assuming, for every person that comes in to have a relationship with you or work with you. So then is this stuff that is then coming from the agents, or is it coming from you? I mean, how does that work?
What do you mean by this stuff?
So the monthly newsletter is an example. Is this stuff that, is it coming just from the team and maybe it's branded to you and your mom, or is it more centric to branding that agent that maybe initially, maybe that past client came in because they met one of your agents, closed with the agent, and the relationship's really with the agent?
Yeah. So our monthly newsletter is actually a company that we hire. It's I don't know if I can say it's fastnewsletters.com. They're like $13 a month. So they create the newsletter for us. And all we have to do is change, and it's got my picture, well, our picture, mine and Linda's picture on it and all of our stuff. So it is branded to us, to Linda and I. But it's got our logo and everything for the whole team, the team's logo on it. The branding that we do for our agents that are listing houses, the main for sale sign has my picture and Linda's picture on it, like the two of us together. But the riders that has each individual team member on it has their picture on it as well. So we do try to brand our team a lot. If we are doing any social media advertising and it's for a listing that another team member received, then they're the ones that get the branding on it. We do a lot of team branding when it comes to our billboards, the digital billboards, the ones that are pretty easy to switch out. We do a lot of team branding for that as well. And then we do a lot of video, like right now, it's cold here. So people need to close their vents on their crawl space, and they need to unplug their hoses from their hose bibs. And we have other agents on the team that create those videos, and we brand it to them along with the whole team.
Yep. Love it. Powerful stuff. So then I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I heard on one of your podcasts, you mentioned that the client events that you do, it's also then mandatory for agents to show up and be part of those as well.
Yes, absolutely. They need to be there, especially because some of their clients are going to be there. But yeah, not only because we need the visibility, but also because it creates stronger culture with them, and they're there and they bring their families. So the only time that I think people don't come is if they happen to be out of town for another reason, or they happen to be sick. But if it's not those two things, yeah, they're expected to be there, and they're expected to bring their family. Yeah. So it's great for them too. I mean, it's fun when they get to sit down and watch a hockey game. They're not going to be at work doing it, sit and visit with your clients, but then go sit down and watch the hockey game with your family. It's a great experience for them as well.
Yeah. Well, and then the fact that I love that you plan these out a year in advance. So then it gives everybody adequate notice. I get if somebody gets sick, we can't control that, but okay, I could control when I book a vacation and make sure that vacation is not around that specific date.
Yep. And the same with our team events too. Our team events are pretty fun. We'll do rage rooms or throw axes. We've done bowling. We've done painting, like, paint parties and stuff, that we've had a ton of fun with those. And then once a month, a bunch of us get together and go to the local food pantry and help them package food. So, we try to get together as much as possible, but the 4 team retreats are just as important as the client events.
Yep. Love it. So then, okay. So you also do 4 agent events.
Yep.
Yearly. Yeah. So you talked about the culture that you guys have created where, all right, it's you and your mom running the team, and you've always tried to create this as a family. Well, one of the hard parts with family is, okay, sometimes being upfront and honest when you get such a close relationship with them, and you're worried about offending them because you get to the point where you know them. Like I found, like I'm really good at running businesses that are off of spreadsheets, but like once I know them, I know, right. Like then from there, I've had to learn how to get out of my comfort zone greatly on that. So, how do you handle those, those kind of difficult conversations that need to happen when you have become so close and like family?
Having a supportive business partner. So my mother and I, we have definitely had our very challenging conversations, but those always happen offline. They happen just between her and I. If we're not getting along, sometimes I'll go to the office. If she's not going to be there, she'll go to the office if I'm not going to be there. But it's on the daily huddle when we learn what each one of us is doing for the day, so we know to stay away from the other one. But I'm very fortunate. Since my father has been building and my mom worked for her, it's kind of all we've ever known is to work in the family business. So we've, knock on wood, we've never let it affect us. And my brother is a builder now as well. So we've got 2 builders and then her and I. So in terms of it breaking up the family, it doesn't. It actually, we are a lot stronger working together, but it's all we've ever known since my father and her, worked together ever since she was 19 years old and he was 27 when they got married. So that's all that they have ever known. That's all they've ever shown us. Now, when it comes to tough conversations with the people on the team, absolutely, those can be pretty challenging. Linda is not great with the challenging conversations. I'm probably more like you. I'm pretty good at the challenging conversations, but at the same time, we kind of have to be a little nicer than I'm definitely the mean one. Like a good cop, bad cop. Everybody loves her and they tolerate me because I'm the one that pushes them out of their comfort zone. So the hard conversations, I do them. I do the hard conversations, and usually that just depends. I just had one with one of the agents on my team through text. Probably would have been a better conversation at lunch or coffee, but majority of the time it's a lunch or a coffee appointment. And we just sit down and, I really do get inquisitive of where their mindset is and where they're coming from. And I think when you get the core of those challenging conversations, you get to the core of really what the issue is about. Sometimes it's not even about what you think it's about.
Yeah.
Maybe they're having a hard time at home. And I think the harder conversations are going to be coming because the market is shifting and adjusting, and the agents are going to start becoming fearful. And as the team leader, that does throw a lot on us, and we need to be able to talk to them and just figure out as a team, as the two of us, we each have the same end goal. The end goal is for you to be successful. Let's figure out how to get there together. When you start butting heads, it can really create some toxicity in the team, and that can spread quickly. And then you can have 3 people leave you all at once,
Yeah.
And it happens.
Yep. So at what point will you ask somebody to find success elsewhere?
I've been fortunate. I've not done that yet.
Okay.
I say that I'm really, really good at swaying the conversation to where they think it's in their best interest to go find success elsewhere. So I usually just sit down and ask. Typically it's because they're underperforming, right? Luckily I have not had somebody that has been on the team that has been toxic to the team that I have had to let go because of that toxicity. If I'm letting them go, it's because they're underperforming and they pretty much know it's coming anyways. So
Yep.
I have been very fortunate.
But it sounds like, even though you haven't had to do it, it sounds like you're very clear on what the expectations are and what you're going to tolerate and not tolerate, from a culture aspect. So if somebody is, let's just say, belittling others, tearing others down, where then it's okay. Like, we're clear on that. So if those red flags arise, like, we will handle that.
Oh, absolutely. You need to handle that immediately. If somebody's belittling somebody or talking down to somebody, that's a no-go. And my staff, ironically enough, most people or my staff can see this. They can see what's happening on the back end more than I can, because a lot of times people show up differently when the team leader's there. So I hear about it. I have heard about it. Unfortunately, the one time that it happened, I heard about it after she had already decided to leave the team. But I did tell my admin staff immediately, you got to let me know, because I'm not tolerating it, period. I'm not going to do it. We have our core values, and people, they signed on knowing our core values. They need to respect our core values. And that is no longer aligned with the team.
Yeah.
The culture is huge.
I love that you brought up, that conversation that you had with your staff, because it is weird in that, like, okay, I'll spend, some time with an agent or agents. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, later that day, one of my admin come to me and say, hey, they're struggling with this. I'm like, what do you mean they're struggling with that? I just talked to them an hour ago and was asking them how they're doing, what's going on. And we're talking about their business. They didn't ever bring that up, so sometimes people just won't disclose what's going on, and it's frustrating as a team leader, because you can't help them if they don't communicate what's going on. But
I know, I just don't understand that mentality. That's what we're there for, is to help them through those times. I don't know if it's an embarrassment thing or what, but I mean, that's what we're here for. That's our greatest gift, to be able to give them. And sometimes they just won't let us give that to them.
Yep. So, okay. So now let's go into agent recruiting, because you mentioned one of the things that really started turning things around for you. You also, at the same time, got intentional, more focused on recruiting. So what does recruiting look like for you, and what are you looking for to know that if somebody is a good fit for you or not, kind of during those recruiting phases?
I think finding out whether or not they're a good fit comes along during the interview. Sometimes, though, they can interview perfectly, and then you find out on the back end that they're not a good fit. So that always stinks when that happens because you spent so much time and effort onto them. So I'm heavily into recruiting. We're always looking for ways to grow. Title companies, lenders, everybody knows that if you hear of somebody wanting to get out of the business, they need to come talk to me first. We talk to a lot of our co-brokes about it. If somebody showed a house, we might bring it up then. Actually, what we're going to start doing, and we haven't started doing this yet, is some lunch and learns once a month to bring people in to just talk to them. And it is a recruiting aspect. At the same time, it's also leveling up our entire board of realtors if, they choose to attend. So it's a win-win all the way around. And I know that there are many, many team leaders that do not like brand new agents, but I love, love, love brand new agents. I really do. I love teaching them. They're so open-minded. They're so coachable. They're so excited. And I find that if you have an agent that has been an agent for a couple of years, they come in with a pretty heavy head. The mentality is pretty heavy. They think, oh, the phone calls aren't going to work. Oh, this isn't going to work. Oh, this is a last resort. I also find that I do not want to hire a person, and I have done this multiple times when you're interviewing them. Usually I do it over coffee and I say, hey, I'm interviewing you just as much as you're interviewing me. We need to find out if this is a good fit. And throughout the conversation, if I hear, well, my broker never did this. Well, my last team leader never did this. If you hear chronic complaining, they're not a good fit because I'm just going to be the next person in line. They don't see the consistency if they're the one constant in all of this. So that's a huge, huge, huge red flag for me if they're constantly complaining about their past experiences.
Yep.
I love new agents. They're my favorite.
Yep. No, me too. I 100% agree. So then, okay. So you mentioned so much about training and where you're going to get your biggest ROI from. And you did talk, your daily huddles, your weekly meetings. But then in addition to that, like, okay, whether it be I hire somebody new, what's that initial onboarding look like? And what are some of the additional things that you do to ensure that they know what to do, when to do, how to do it, to go out there and create that success?
So we use a Trello board for onboarding, which I'm going to be over this next year, probably in the process of changing that maybe to Thinkific. I haven't quite made up my mind yet, but we have a Trello onboarding board. Usually takes them about 3.5, 4 weeks, but usually if step one should take them about a week to finish. And if it takes them longer than a week, that's my first clue. They're probably not going to be successful. If it takes them 2 days to finish something that should take a week, means that they aren't retaining any of the information. So should take them about a week to finish step one. And then we have step 2, 3, and 4. And then once they get done with step 4, then I allow them to get leads. But during that time period, depending on, I don't know if you know much about Trello, but they have lists and they have cards. So within the cards, they have to schedule an appointment with me so we can go house shopping together. When we go house shopping, you're in charge of finding 5 vacant homes all around the same vicinity. And I want you to still call and set up appointments for all of these homes. And then I show them how to show a house. And there's another time where they got to set up an appointment with me or Linda and go over a contract. And there's a lot of videos, a ton of videos. I apologize to them that they have to stare at this face for like hours upon end, but they're little short videos, right? They're like 7-minute videos. And there's a lot of checks and balances within that. Plus they're still on the huddles. They're still attending the weekly meetings. They're still attending the tier meetings. So they can knock it out pretty quick.
Yeah. But I mean, the power of that though is, look, I heard read about a study that NASA did a long time ago that showed that the average human mind only retains 10% of what we learned the first time around. So if I sit there one-on-one with them and walk through a listing presentation, okay, like they're not going to retain it, but if you have that video recorded of you doing it, well, then they can watch it over and over and over and watch it 40 times to really start to master it, so then it allows them to be resourceful, ongoing, and truly master their craft over time.
Yeah, and our team helps us recruit. So if one of our team members is the one that recruited them, they get a bonus for a certain number of transactions. That team member that recruited them get a bonus. So it's in their best interest too to help with some of it so they can go job shadow them. We have, of course, our open houses every weekend. So we want the new recruit to go job shadow somebody with the open houses every time. So, there has to be on the job training. Whenever I know that somebody's about ready to be a listing agent, I've got a listing appointment coming up. I'll call them and say, hey, why don't you come join me? So that way they can start doing on the job. And it's not necessarily taking time away from me because I'm already going to be there anyways. And they're just learning as they're going.
Yep. Love it. So then out of curiosity, your mom was, create a lot of success during the great financial crisis, which was really the worst housing market crash in recorded history in the United States. And there's a lot of short sales, a lot of REOs, a lot of, are you guys doing anything now to start to position yourself for that type of business in the event it starts to pick up and come down the pipe here if things keep getting more challenging with the economy?
Sure. Yeah. So we are very lucky. We do, because I have a new construction and then we have construction in our blood, really. We are constantly looking for new opportunities to flip homes. And what we're doing for our agents is if they find homes that they want to flip. So we've got a couple of different things actually going on. If an agent brings a deal to me or Linda of a house to flip, then we'll pay them a commission on the purchase and we pay them a commission on the sale as a thank you. But if they want to partner with us, then we'll actually buy the house as a hard money lender. That particular agent is responsible to finance any of the remodel and to find all the contractors and everything. We are strictly the hard money lender at that point. We have our, agreements worked out on the commissions on both sides and the percentage that they're going to owe us in that process. But, we still own the home. So if something were to happen, that agent were to go AWOL for whatever, it's not happened. But if that agent were to go AWOL for whatever reason, we still own the home. And then any of their money of the remodel work that they've put into it, but they have to finance the remodel. So we have agents definitely on our team that are excited about that. They are ready to do it. They're working on saving up the money so they can finance their own remodels. But until then, if they find a house that is a good flip opportunity, then they'll bring it to us. And that is a good way for all of us to partner together to grow as a team. We do similar things with property management as well. So Linda's a property manager as it sits. So we've trained them how to be property managers. So if they've got a client that is moving to California for whatever reason and wants to rent out their home, then we'll facilitate that for them. And then we give that agent their 10% on their property management fees as if they were the property manager. Even though we're the ones technically managing the property, they're learning how to manage property and we give them a stipend for that too. So we just do a lot of things outside the box to help them, because I really want them to be set for life. I have been so blessed to be in a real estate family that has taught me about not spending every single dime that you make immediately, because since they've been builders since the 80s, I mean, they've been through it all. They've been through 18% interest rates back when Jimmy Carter was in office, right? They've been through every single crash that we've had, 2001, 1999, 2008. So they know the ups and downs, and we continue to train our team on what to look for if you're buying your own rental, what to look for if you're buying a flip for you, what to look for any type of wealth building opportunities that they have, or any different types of streams of income. We want to teach them how to do that. And that sets us apart because we're not just focused on the purchase and the sale. We want to really change their lives as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's amazing. And imagine that it creates a big USP on the recruiting side too, because there's not a lot of teams or brokers, if any, that are doing that sort of stuff. So, all right. So you got two last questions for you. I know we're going long on time. So you mentioned the NAR thing that came out just yesterday, a day before the lawsuit. And then you mentioned that, okay, you just talked about it in your team daily huddle. And, and I know that none of us have a crystal ball. None of us know how this is going to pan out, but it's on everybody's mind. So what are you telling your agents right now of how to best prepare, even though we don't really know how this is going to pan out, but what are the best ways that we can prepare and protect ourselves right now?
In my opinion, we just need to stay positive as much as possible, not stick our head in the sand, but I think that we need to stay positive as much as possible. Get off of the real estate Facebook groups that are all negative and in panic mode, because nothing's changing tomorrow. Nothing's changing in December. Nothing's probably going to change. I'm not sure. It'll take 5 years, 10 years before anything really comes down the pipe with so many appeals. Just get up and go to work. We are going to have, and even this morning, I mean, I've already had a couple of people outside of the real estate world that, because it happened in Missouri. So now Missouri is really latching onto it because that's where I'm at. So I even had, I have coffee every once in a while with a group of people, and they even asked me about it because they saw it on our local news last night. So I explained to them what we need to really focus on is just making sure that our consumers understand the commission structure. They need to truly understand it. I can understand why it came about. It is such a low barrier of entry to be a real estate agent. And so many people felt duped, and they felt that they didn't understand what they were getting into, and say whatever you want. You never know truly who's right or who's wrong. But we really need to make sure that our clients are educated on the commission structure. They're educated on what we bring to the table and our value and our USPs. And as long as we can do that, I would say we're, safe. We've done a really great job within our team. And truly, I think within our entire board of realtors here locally, we've done a good job of making sure that our clients are fully educated on truly the commission structure and how it's going to go. But it can't set us back. And there's so much over the last couple of days, so much focus on it. And I don't want it to be everybody's focus to where they freak out and pull back and we have even more agent attrition. I don't know. Maybe it's necessary. I don't know, but I don't think so. You just get up and go to work, man. You can solve so many problems by getting up and going to work.
Yeah. It's, definitely interesting. I didn't know until the other day. I was having a conversation with another agent friend of mine, and we're talking about the lawsuit. I'm like, I just don't. It doesn't make sense to me. In that, I'm like, okay, every listing presentation I've ever been on, it spells out exactly what the total commission is, which of course is negotiable. But then right under there, I have to then fill out and tell them what we're going to be offering. And what I'm going to be paying is splitting with the co-broke realtor in the event there's a co-broke. Everybody's initialing, everybody's signing. So, and then from there, okay, we have buyer agency and buyer brokers, and we always treat our buyer presentations like listing presentations. So everybody's always on the up and up, but I was speaking again with another agent, another marketplace, and like their market, they don't even have state board buyer broker agreements. And so then I'm like, okay, I guess maybe in certain areas, if it's not set up the right way, but to your point, because so I've got good friends of mine and even some, clients of mine, they're highly successful realtors, team leaders, broker owners in places like New Zealand, Australia that have never had buyer agency, and they're crushing it. I mean, there's always ways to shift and adapt, and, we'll be fine. Right. You said
it's still a relationship business. We're not going out of business.
Yep. 100%. So, okay, one last question for you. But before I get into that, Kelly, for anybody that's watching or listening, we're all in real estate here. So, maybe they have a referral for your market, or they want to continue following you on this amazing success journey, or they're in your area, want to talk to you about joining your amazing team, or they're interested in having a further conversation with you about all the amazing coaching that you're doing and how you can serve, support, and help them with that. Like, what are the best places for people to get in touch with you, to follow you?
Well, pretty much just Google me or do an @Kelly Revore, pretty much anywhere. I am all over Facebook and Instagram are the two ones that I focus on the most. The others are, I'm kind of on TikTok. I know I probably should be on TikTok more, but Kelly is Kellie. And then my last name is Revore, REV as in Victor, OIR. From there, you can find my team page, but really following me is probably your best bet. That's where you're going to get the most content, the coolest content, I think.
Awesome. Love it. All right. So last question. So if Kelly today, knowing everything that you know now on this journey that you've been on, could go back to, Kelly, and let's just say 2013, when you first got your license, and you're sitting on a park bench. So yourself today with your younger version of yourself, and give yourself a couple pieces of advice that you wished you would have known, that you feel would have greatly fast forwarded the success trajectory that you're on. What would those couple pieces of advice look like?
That's a great question. The first thing that I would tell myself is that everything is going to be okay, because in 2013, when I first got started, I was terrified. I did not know what I was doing. I don't know how many listing appointments I screwed up, how many buyer appointments I screwed up, but you just got to get in there and you've got to get it done. And there were definitely times where I did not feel like I wanted to do that at all anymore. But I think it's so very, very normal to screw up. You need to screw up. That's the only way that you're going to learn anything. And that it is okay to screw up. The second thing, take a break. I worked so hard nonstop because I just thought that this was going to get me closer to success, just working and working and grinding and grinding. And I really had to discover some boundaries. I lost a good relationship over my own stupidity of just working myself to the bone. So I really needed to give myself some grace to be able to take a break and to focus on my family, focus on my relationships and my friendships, because I lost a lot of friends in the process too. And I really just had to learn how to go back to being a person and not just a workaholic, which I still struggle with that today. And I think a lot of team leaders, successful team leaders, do. I mean, I'm sure you work 24/7 as well. That was the second piece of advice, is that you've really, really got to make sure if it's past 9 o'clock, don't answer your phone. I mean, I guess you can create whatever times that you want to, but you will have clients calling you at 11:30 at night. You'll have clients calling you at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you've really got to create some boundaries. If you cannot respect yourself enough, how do you expect your clients to respect you and your time and your family? So that would be the two probably most major things. The other thing would be to have patience and truly be inquisitive about what your client, your buyer clients, your seller clients, and your team, where they're coming from. Because it's very easy to get very irritated with your clients and your team. And you really need to take a step back and figure out where they're coming from and be more empathetic to them. And it really will, when you come at it with a giving heart, you really will grow further than you ever dreamed possible.
Yep. Awesome. Such powerful stuff. And Kelly, I know how busy you are, and the fact that you took this time out of your busy to be here with us and share all this amazing knowledge with us truly means a lot. This has been a lot of fun, and it really been an honor.
Thank you. Yes, me too. I really appreciate it, Joshua. Thank you so, so much.
Yeah, 100%. Those watching and listen, as always, we truly appreciate you being here. Truly appreciate all your support. Keep crushing it, and we will see you next time. Peace.
Peace.